Hey everyone, Bob here, KD4BMG. Today on the HOA Ham, pairing the ICOM IC-705 with the Xiegu XPA125B Amplifier tuner. As I've been preparing for this video, it became obvious to me I needed to split it into two sections. Today's will focus on pairing this up with a resonant antenna, and in a future video, I will be pairing up the 705 and the XPA125B with a non-resonant antenna using either the Xiegu internal antenna tuner or an external tuner. We'll talk about use case. Why would you pair a QRP rig with an amplifier? We'll talk about how to correctly connect the two together. We'll discuss the settings on the radio as well as the amplifier. We'll talk about the screen feedback you get from the amplifier. Then we'll go over a couple of QSOs so you can watch the feedback on that screen and get an idea of what you could expect if you decide to use this amplifier. A lot of what we do with our ham radio equipment depends on our personal preference, our use case, our intended scenarios that we might find ourselves in, and how prepared we choose to be, want to be, or can afford to be. This isn't about right or wrong answers, it's thinking through options that we have at our fingertips. I would say one of the reasons why I choose to have an amplifier available to my QRP rigs is simply versatility. I like to think of my QRP rigs and an amplifier as a good portable situation, and let me explain what I mean by that. For my first POTA activation, I used my Yaesu FT991A and had a blast, until I came home and had to set it back up again in the shack. That wasn't very much fun, and I decided at that point my shack station was not going to be torn to pieces again to go do a POTA activation. So it stays static other than adding additional equipment or learning new features, etc. It takes me probably a good 30 minutes to break down my station and probably close to an hour and a half to set it back up again. Someday in a future video, I'll give you some insight into that. I live in a home where my shack is in a confined space and everything is tightly put together, and I do have several pieces of equipment attached to the 991A, so it stays put. So now I have an IC-705 and a couple of Xiegu rigs, as you know if you've been watching my channel, and I've been pairing them up with the XPA125B amplifier. Well, here's why I say that's a good portable option. I don't mean that you would always lug the amplifier with you in every single scenario, but you can have it available to you if your use case dictates that. For me, if I'm going on a POTA activation, which I don't get to do very frequently, you darn well better think I'm going to make sure I get a pileup. It's the only time I can drive a pileup to me because people are chasing. That's a blast. Well, if I go out there with my IC-705 at 5 watts or 10 watts on a bad propagation day, I'm missing an opportunity to take advantage of that very occasional opportunity that I have. So I keep the XPA125B in my vehicle in the event I need some extra punch. Think about if you're traveling. For me, when I travel, it's mostly in-state and in my vehicle. I travel with my IC-705 in my Go Kit. It has with it all the accessories that I would need to set up and operate in an emergency situation. I don't carry the XPA125B with me when I get out of my car and go into, say, a relative's home, but that XPA125B is there in the vehicle if I need the extra watts. So I think the greatest use case for having an amplifier with a QRP rig is just versatility. It's there if you need it. Another use case, not necessarily mine, but some people's, might be that you can only afford a QRP rig. Let me rephrase that. You can only afford one rig, and you want to be able to go QRP and have a base station. So wouldn't it be nice to have a XPA125B amplifier set up at home to attach that QRP rig to and have a 100-watt base station, and also be able to disconnect and take that QRP rig out and do a POTA? So there are a lot of reasons why you would want to have an amplifier to go with your QRP rig, at least for those of us where that fits with our use case. If you're following with me on this journey, you've watched me pair my XPA125B with my X5105 and my G90. The CE19 is a great way to connect those units together. It works flawlessly, seamlessly. The instructions for the XPA125B state that you can pair that unit up with non-Xiegu equipment. But let me tell you, the instructions are a little short on details, so we're kind of left to our own to go out there and figure it out. How do we connect these things correctly so that they work and we don't have any damage to any of the equipment, either the amplifier or our radios? Since I'm operating with some unknowns, primarily will the IC-705 and the XPA125B play nice together, I've chosen to place an amplifier keying interface between them to assure full protection of my IC-705. Some of you might say that's not necessary and you don't need that. Well, since my XPA125B was about 1/3 the cost of the IC-705, I think that's going to be my operating conditions for now. For the amplifier keying interface, I've chosen to use this kit from eBay seller Radio Dan Whiskey 7 Romeo Foxtrot. I'll leave a link in the description so you can get to this package if you want it. Let me say right now, I have zero affiliation with Radio Dan, and I will receive no commission for referring you to him if you choose to use this gear. I chose this kit primarily for two reasons. First, check out his feedback score on eBay. As of the time of this video, it was almost 13,000 positive. And second, he custom makes all the cables to go with the IC-705 to the XPA125B. There's an option from Ameritron out there, the ARB-704. I didn't research it. As I said, I went with something that was a turnkey kit. Let's get this all connected. This is the relay buffer interface from Radio Dan, and let's start with connecting it. First, the connection between the relay buffer and the IC-705. Other cable goes into your ALC keying jack of the IC-705. Make sure it is firmly seated. Next connection will be between the relay buffer and the 6-pin DIN connector on the back of the XPA125B. And if you've worked with these before, you know that they have 3 little dimples on them that you have to line up with your input on whatever you're plugging into. And once you line them up, it slides in rather easily. Let's move this off to the side so we can get our antenna. Antenna in. Patch cable from the amplifier to the IC-705. Which of course is on the other side of the radio. Not a problem. You all know how to do this part anyway. Here it is, all set up nice and neat. Let's go through it one more time to make sure we have it. From the ALC jack on the side of your IC-705, we're coming into the relay buffer interface where it says from radio. We're going out to the amplifier where it says to amplifier. We're taking this cable going into the 6-pin DIN connector in the back of the XPA125B. The relay buffer interface itself has a power cable that plugs into my power pole distribution box. Next, we're going to connect our antenna in and our antenna from our transceiver. And then this patch cable goes into the other side, obviously, of the IC-705. So this is RF coming in and RF going out. Obviously, our power connector for the amplifier. Let's get this turned around, the camera resituated so we can see the front of our equipment and go over our settings. Now, over to the settings on the radio itself. Remember, this is a video using a resonant antenna. So I'm going to turn the antenna tuner off. Notice that the band selection is in manual. Again, I'm not driving band selection from this radio as I would from a X5-105 or G90. So I have the band selection in manual. Make sure that your band matches the band of your transceiver. So band of your amplifier matches the band of your transceiver. The transceiver's on 20 watts and so is the amplifier at this point in time. All right, so we have our amplifier on, our antenna tuner off. We have manually selected 20 meters. When I key up, we should see something very close to resonant. This is what my antenna is reading, and this is what the radio is seeing. This should be at 1-to-1, and this should be at close to 1-to-1. This, at this point, we're going to see close to 1 watt, and this we're going to see something around, 20 to 70, depending on how the amplifier is responding to my voice fluctuation. Let's find a frequency that is not in use. Is this frequency in use? KD4 BMG. All right, you saw that I got up to about 1.7 SWR. I'm using the Wolf River Coil's antenna. I didn't actually tune it up this morning, so that 1 to 1.7 really doesn't bother me. CQ20, CQ20. This is Kilo Delta 4 Bravo Mike Golf calling CQ 20 meters. So you can see with 1 watt, I'm driving 74. Let's go ahead up to 2 watts out. CQ, CQ, this is Kilo Delta 4 Bravo Mike Golf calling CQ. I saw in the mid 90s, so with 2 watts, we're driving 90. We go up to 3 watts, we're actually going to get over 100, no doubt. CQ20, CQ20, this is Kilo Delta 4 Bravo Mike Golf. All right, I saw 105 and 108. Xiegu is pretty emphatic about not driving this over 100 watts. So let's just go back to 2.5 watts. CQ20, CQ20. This is Kilo Delta 4 Bravo Mike Golf calling CQ. I saw it hit 102. We were primarily under 100 watts. I'd be comfortable driving this at about 2 to 2.5 watts on 20 meters. Now let's take a look at the feedback you're going to see on the screen of the XPA125B while operating. In the top middle of the screen, you're going to see volts, amps, and temperature. The volts are going to be in the typical range that you would expect to see as a ham radio operator. The amps are going to vary with your inflection of voice in single sideband voice transmission. In idle, you could be 1 to 2 amps. When you speak into your microphone at key up, you're going to get as high as 15, although it's usually much lower than that, but it will peak up around 15. And then the operating temperature, I didn't notice any significant increase while I was operating single sideband voice. In the top right-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see the SWR, your antenna. As mentioned earlier, for this video, I'm using a resonant antenna. Top left corner will be the SWR that your QRP rig is seeing. Bottom left will be the watts that are being driven from your QRP rig into the amplifier. This will fluctuate with voice inflection, and it will go anywhere from 0 to 5. Bottom right will be watts out from the amplifier to your antenna, and this will fluctuate from 0 up to 100. Again, in my case, doing single sideband voice with my voice inflection. I'll flash a QSO map up so you can see the various contacts I made while using the pairing of the IC-705 and the XPA125B. I'm going to share 2 QSOs with you. The first one with Kilo Fox 5 India Tango, and the second one with Kilo 0 India Zulu. I'm sharing these 2 particular QSOs because there was sufficient feedback from the other operators for you to meaningfully evaluate the signal strength and sound quality coming from the pairing of the IC-705 and the XPA125B. Again, for SWR in and out, you're going to see it at resonant 1 to 1. The operating voltage fluctuates very little. The operating amps goes from 2 up to, like I said, about 15. Watts from the radio into the amplifier fluctuates between 1 and 5, and watts out to the antenna fluctuates between 0 and 100. Obviously, any time during these 2 QSOs, when you feel like you have enough information about the feedback you will receive on the XPA125B screen, just jump to the end and you'll hear my final summary comments.
Okie dokie, QRZ.
Kilo Delta 4 Bravo Mike Golf.
Kilo Delta 4 Bravo Mike Golf. Good afternoon to you, sir. Good afternoon to you from KF5 Italy Tango. Name here is Leon. Lima Echo Oscar November. I'm in the state of Arkansas. How you doing, sir?
Hey Leon, the name here is Bob Bravo Oscar Bravo here in the Tampa Bay, Florida area, doing fantastic today. Scrolled past you on the band and your signal was just booming here into Tampa Bay, so I thought I would hang around and see if I could get a chance to talk with you for a minute. Over.
Yes sir, Bob, my pleasure. My pleasure to talk to you, and I want to let you know that the station is sounding great here. It sounds superb. Come on to Florida, you couldn't ask for a better sounding station. Sounds great here, Bob, and just go ahead and keep some of those flowers for yourself there, over.
Roger that. Well, man, you sound awful cheerful today. You get on the band frequently here and spread the joy, over?
Yes, sir. I try to get on here, Bob, frequently, but I've been using the frequency about 40 years.
Copy that, yeah. And so I heard you say about 40 years. Well, gosh, I only have about 2.5 years into this. I'm getting up there in years, not quite retired, but wanted to get a little bit better prepared for an emergency and started dabbling. And wow, was I hooked quickly, very quickly. Found this to be, generally speaking, just a group of great people who like to communicate, share, be friendly, and have a good time, over.
Oh, yeah, Bob. Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, your 2 years of Hammond, you're going to have many more good years to operate. I started at an early age. I'm not really old, 40 years. What I did, Bob, I just started real early. Bob, you're going to enjoy Hamway. You're going to enjoy it, and so glad to hear you. And if you're up this way on 29295 and hear my melodious voice, I guarantee if I hear you, Bob, I will pick you up.
Copy that. Hey, listen, I'm just looking at your QR, checking out your QRZ page here. Is that you towards the bottom, sitting at the piano there?
Yes, sir. Okay. You're looking at me on the keyboard. Yes, I do. I play piano now. I also play the organ, but that's the piano there. For the last 13 years, we've been consistently playing piano, but we love to play organ and piano, Bob, over.
Roger that. So just based on the picture, I'm going to make an assumption that you're a man of faith, and this is a great time of year for us to celebrate, over.
Yes, we just got through wrapping up the last Sunday doing a lot of Christmas carols. The last Sunday we did all Christmas carols, and so before we did that, I had to do a lot of rehearsing here at home, Bob, over.
Copy that. Yeah, this virus has certainly turned so many things on its head. We have older parents, so we keep ourselves as far away from it as possible. Listen, I'm going to let you go. Based on how strong your signal is, I'm sure there are other people hearing you that want to talk with you. If you don't mind, would you give me a signal report? I am testing out some new equipment, and I do have a YouTube channel, so I upload some videos, and a lot of times people want to know what the signal reports are just so they know how the equipment's working, over.
Yes, sir. No problem, Bob. You're 5'9" plus here, Bob. Bob, you're 5'9" plus here. KD4 BMG, Bob, there in Florida. You're 5'9" plus back here into Arkansas. Break.
All right, KF5IT, KD4 BMG. I'm going to let you go. I feel like I've made a new friend today, Leon. I very much appreciate the time you've invested in this conversation and wish you a Merry Christmas, friend.
Bob, you take care and have a wonderful, blessed day, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. KD4 Bravo Mike Golf. Bob there in Florida. This is KF5 Italy Tango Leon and Dumas, Arkansas. 7-3s.
7-3, friend.
Kilo 0 India Zulu calling CQ, CQ calling CQ. Hello CQ, CQ calling CQ. Kilo 0 India Zulu standing by.
Kilo Delta 4 Bravo Mike Golf.
Kilo Delta 4 Bravo Mike Golf. My signal name here is John. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. Over.
Hey John, the name here is Bob. I am in Tampa Bay, Florida, just toughing it out with the 65, 70 degree weather today, over.
Yeah, well, we're trying to give you some competition there. Tomorrow, I think we're going to be about in that range, and Friday the same thing. So, fortunately, we've got some competition for you this year.
Well, Well, I wish I could give you competition the other direction. I'm originally a northerner, been transplanted here for about 25 years, and gosh, December, Christmas week, we need some cold weather, don't you think?
Well, what we need here in Kansas City is some rain. We haven't had any moisture for no snow and no moisture for quite a while, maybe a couple months or so. And I really noticed it because I did a bunch of landscaping in front, put in about 60 plants and shrubs and a couple of trees, and we have a sprinkler system, but of course I had it winterized. So now I'm out there about every week or 10 days with the hose trying to keep everything alive.
Roger that. Yeah, that's a nuisance, definitely. So I understand why you say you need rain, right?
Yeah, but you know, here I am complaining about the weather, and I was out and about this morning with just a sweatshirt on.
Right. So there's something to be said for that. Yeah, I'm originally from southeastern Pennsylvania.
Very good. Good choices there. We're about in Pennsylvania.
Southeastern, little town called Geigertown, population 200 when I was a little boy, which that was 60 years ago. But Reading, Lancaster area, Pennsylvania Dutch country, a beautiful place to grow up and live.
Okay, well, I was born in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and my mom was born in Nazareth, my dad in Old Fort.
Bethlehem, sure, know exactly where you're talking about. Hey, just want to give you a quick signal report. You were coming in at 5.9. The signal is just starting to fade. I imagine it will come back. I've had pretty good propagation here today, and curious what my signal report is over.
Yeah, you're up and down some too. At the moment, you're on the lower end, about an S5, but you were up there quite a bit too.
Yep, that sounds about consistent with what I've been seeing today. It's been one of the better conditions for me here lately on 20 meters in Tampa Bay, and I'm just playing with some new equipment today, trying to hit signals that I can hear well and able to have a couple of minute conversation with rather than just a signal report exchange. Over.
Yeah, what are you using?
Well, I've been testing out. I have a FT991A as my base station, but I have a couple of QRP rigs, and today I'm testing an IC-705 5 watts driving into a Xiegu XPA125B 100 watt amplifier. So essentially I'm 100 watts, and I needed it to be resonant, so I'm running through a temporary antenna. I live in an HOA, and right now I just have a Wolf River coils verticals sticking up out there, so it does pretty good, but that's what I am running today. Over.
Okay, KD4BMGK0I. Well, very good. You're the first person I've talked to that's actually running a 705. I've seen the advertisements on it. I guess it's a very, very popular radio. My equipment here is my COVID project. Last year I finished up a radio, uses tubes in it, 13 tubes, and has a single 6146 in the final. And then this year's project was an amplifier using a pair of 813s at grounded grid. So with 50 watts in, I get 500 watts out. So kind of my two fun projects for the last couple of years.
So I'm looking at your QRZ page now. Is that what I'm looking at here with that amplifier and case open? Is that the rebuild? Over?
Yeah, and further down where you see some chassis pictures and things like that, that's what I'm using.
Wow, that is nice. Very nice restoration job. But I have been looking at some older rigs that I would love to do something similar to. Over.
Yeah, well, both of these are just, they're totally from scratch. So, I designed them, did the metalwork and all of that.
Copy that. Yeah, so if you're talking about a new build, actually the chassis does look nice and shiny. So didn't mean to insult you there that you started with bones and built it up. Wow, from scratch. Fantastic. That's a great skill set that you have there.
I had to dig around in some of my junk boxes to come up with a bunch of parts, and then I went out shopping for parts that used to be readily available for nothing, basically, and now I find out everybody thinks they're made of gold.
Well, nothing's readily available today, is it? I'm in supply chain management for a defense contractor. I can't buy anything anywhere in the world anymore. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm noticing that in the stores too, and they play a pretty good game, you know, like Costco. They move stuff around or make something take up twice as much space on the shelves or things like that, and you don't really notice it until you ask, and they say, "Oh, sorry, we're out."
Roger that. Hey, I'm going to let you go and let you pick up some other people here. Again, the signals are up and down, but generally speaking, everything has been readable. I appreciate the investment of the time here with the QSO. It's been a pleasure to meet you and have a chat with you today. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, friend.
Well, thank you, Bob, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and your family. 84 BMG K0IZ.
73, friend.
What could be better about this pairing, or what needs improvement? If you've purchased the XPA125B already, you know the answer to that question. It's the instruction manual. It leaves a lot to be desired. It's just insufficient. For those of us who like to understand our equipment, its options, features, and how we could pair it with other equipment, it just leaves us hanging. And that's all I really have to offer for criticism of the XPA125B in this pairing. I think, however, that Xiegu might be missing out on an opportunity here. I know they're in business to promote their own equipment. They do have their own QRP rigs, the X5105, the G1M, the G90, and now the new X6100. But I tell you, if they gave us a really good manual and told us how to pair the XPA125B with our IC-705, instead of leaving it up to a few of us to figure it out, heck, even sell us the cable kit, they would sell a ton more of these amplifiers, I think. If they fear that they would cannibalize their own sales because people would no longer buy the X5105, G90, G1M, and X6100, I'd say they're wrong. Because most of us, or many of us I should say, who own an IC-705 own what else? We own some Xiegu QRP rigs. So I think Xiegu really has a great opportunity here if they choose to go down that direction. What do I like about this pairing? I think the first obvious thing is the IC-705. If you own it, you know precisely what I mean. If you don't own it and you're watching this video, it seems you're interested, and let me tell you, it is worth every penny. The second thing would be the incredible feedback that I get from this pairing on the sound quality and the signal strength. Couldn't ask for a better station. Keep some of those flowers for yourself, or some of the comments I received in some of the QSOs. How about the fact that you now have a 100-watt shack setup and a QRP rig? I said in one of my earlier videos, if I had to sell all of my equipment and just pare it down to one radio, it would be this pairing. I realize it's a pair and not just a radio, but I would sell everything and keep these two. With the XPA125B and the IC-705, I have a 100-watt shack that is plenty powerful enough. It's as good as my 991A that I have today. And depending on your opinion between Yaesu and ICOM, you think that the IC-705 with the XPA125B might be better. I'm fine with that opinion. But then I also have an incredible QRP rig. I have something that's portable I can take with me in a backpack, in a go bag, etc. And I can also then pair it with the amplifier on the go and have a 100-watt portable station as well. Simply, it just works. This pairing with a resonant antenna was easy to use. Thanks, friend. I hope you found this helpful. Talk to you soon. 73.